Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes' Illuminati, the man who rules the world, takes on the head of the global elite in this all-new action-packed John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' Illuminati in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. President Joe Biden continues to express his contempt towards black voters. Now, in a recent virtual appearance at the National Action Network convention, President Joe Biden came to this organization founded by Al Sharpton with some virtual remarks promising to deliver more wins for the black community. Now, the critical question I gotta ask is, where are these wins in the first place? Because according to Joe Biden, back in 2020, he gathered all of the black leaders together, and as he gathered all the black leaders together, he told black leaders he could do nothing for black people, and told black people they would have to get with Hispanics in order to get anything from the government. But we have Joe Biden right now trying to change the narrative because his approval rating has basically dropped, and he can no longer take the black vote for granted, because what happened is that many of the people in his so-called coalition, like Hispanics, Arabs, and Asians, no longer see him as a favorable person to vote for. Moreover, that block of white women are looking like they're going right, even in the face of his abortion narrative. And with Joe Biden basically losing support from many of the minorities, he can no longer take the black vote for granted, and can't take the black vote for granted. So what he's doing is making this disingenuous statement at the National Action Network and hoping that many gullible black women will fall for this whole game, because Joe Biden has basically lost a lot of his black male support, and hoping that those sisters will take their booties to the poll, not understanding the contempt shown to them by Joe Biden. Now, Joe Biden basically showed contempt basically by his actions, because he did not make an actual appearance at the National Action Network. No, he made a virtual appearance at the National Action Network, and the reason why he made a virtual appearance at the National Action Network was because he just had no real taking the black community seriously, and he didn't see black people as a priority. Because if things were truly as desperate as Joe Biden claims, he would have definitely made an appearance at the National Action Network, but he thought he could just go out here and participating in another empty symbolic gesture, because that's what this virtual appearance basically was. It was an empty symbolic gesture to make it look like he was concerned about the black community, because he's sitting here as he's making these virtual remarks talking about how he wants to bring wins to the black community, when he has absolutely done nothing at all for black people. Now, Joe Biden in his speech talked about signing the Freedom to Vote Act, or the John Lewis Voting Rights Act in the law, talked about the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, and these were things that he could have easily gotten passed back in 2020 when he was president and he had a majority in the House and the Senate. But back then, he basically thought he could take the black vote for granted, because black people took their booties to the poll to preserve his so-called democracy. And as they took their booties to the poll, many of these black people were just caught up in their emotions about Donald Trump, not thinking about asking for anything tangible at all for their votes. And that's what Joe Biden was able to take advantage of as related to that situation. And right now, what he wants to do is go out here and recruit a bootlick like Al Sharpton in the hopes of trying to get black people to get back on the plantation and continue to vote blue no matter who. But at this point, you fool people once, shame on them. And the whole thing is that's the mistake that Joe Biden is making at this point. Because if black people go out here and vote for him again, they'd have to be a special brand of stupid. Because again, Joe Biden back in 2020 could have easily given black voters those tangibles like that John Lewis Voting Rights Act or that George Floyd Justice and Police Act. He had the majority in the House and the Senate, but he decided to go and try to appeal to the Asian voter by giving them that anti-Asian hate crime law, and gave them an anti-Asian hate crime law almost immediately on getting into office. Moreover, Joe Biden had lots of money to give Afghans who were leaving the country after the U.S. pulled out, and he had money to give Ukrainians for their war, and now has money for Israel, but he has nothing for the black voter but a lot of hot air. And what he wants to do as he's running all of this hot air, wants to talk about Donald Trump and gold sneakers. But I can see through all of that because, yes, I do not support Donald Trump, but I can see how Joe Biden didn't support black people at all over the course of the last 4 years, and how over the last 4 years, Joe Biden has done nothing to benefit black voters. Now, he'll sit there and talk about empty symbolic gestures like nominating Justice Ketanji Clown Jackson and giving us an empty symbolic lynching federal hate crime law and decriminalizing marijuana possession. But where are the serious tangibles that black people demand, such as real police reform, a real anti-black hate crime law, which would really punish many of these anti-black racists, because that lynching law basically again was empty and symbolic, because the anti-black hate crime law would really have an impact, because the anti-black hate crime law would deal with all of the ongoing racism and the ongoing discrimination that foundational black Americans suffer. That anti-black hate crime law would really punish many of these racists, because anti-black hate crimes are the #1 in America. I mean, there are more anti-black hate crimes done in this country, and no real federal legislation to punish that at all. And Joe Biden wants to come here with, again, empty symbolic gestures and an empty symbolic appearance, but really doesn't want to give black voters anything tangible, and that was shown by his virtual appearance. That virtual appearance was about him, again, participating in another empty symbolic gesture to show that, oh, I will make an appearance to show how I have this fake concern for black people, because if he had a real concern about the black vote, he would bring his real self down to the National Action Network convention, make a real appearance, and make a real statement to black people about what tangibles he's going to provide as related to supporting a black agenda of tangibles to black people, such as, again, the anti-black hate crime law, an actual police reform that actually deals with rogue police officers, and also provide reparations to compensate people who have suffered from all of the legacy of slavery, the legacy of Jim Crow, and the current and ongoing discrimination that keeps black people from being able to get actual jobs and really go out here and present a real support for a black agenda. But you don't get that from Joe Biden. No, you get from Joe Biden him making an empty virtual appearance with one of the bootlick black leaders who he told he could do nothing for. And what that bootlick black leader is going to try to do is try to sell black people on voting blue no matter who, even though he told you screw you. I mean, he told you screw you in 2020, and now he's telling you screw you once again in 2024. But you have him with his mouthpiece Al Sharpton talking about nonsense like the debate over menthol cigarettes. I mean, this has nothing to do with black people, and again shows how out of touch Al Sharpton is overall as related to the issues of black people, and how he's not really concerned about supporting a black agenda. And this is why Al Sharpton does not speak for us. And this is why you need new black media, because new black media is one speaking on the issues, because it's all of us speaking on our issues for ourselves and the tangibles we want. And the whole thing with this type of situation with Al Sharpton, again, he can't even see how he's being disrespected once more, because he makes a virtual appearance, and then all of these bootlicks, again, they want to get pacified because they're getting a little attention from paternalistic Joe Biden, who basically shows his contempt by making a virtual appearance, because if he was truly concerned about the issues of black people, again, he would have made a real appearance and made a real appearance to deal with the real issues of foundational black Americans, made real pledges to a black agenda, and made real statements about black people to support them, and support them because he genuinely is interested in them. Because the only reason why Joe Biden is making this virtual appearance is because he's virtually starting to lose his support with all of those minorities, those Hispanics, who really have issues with him as related to him basically failing to look to protect their economic interest at the border by letting in all of those migrants. The Asians who we alienated by going out here and messing up things with his American American Rescue Plan, and by making their taxes higher and making them not able to make as much money as they did. The Arabs who we alienated by going out here and supporting Palestine, and he's also alienated all of these minorities. And now that he's lost that coalition who he thought could replace black voters, now he wants to come back to the black voter, but doesn't want to reach out to the black grassroots. No, he goes right back to the bootlicks like Al Sharpton and wants to try to push a narrative with them. But most black people aren't listening to the bootlicks, and that shows how completely tone-deaf Joe Biden is as related to his 2024 campaign. I mean, he's talking about things that black people aren't really interested in. No, the things I'm going to repeat black people are interested in is an anti-black hate crime law. We want that passed because of all of these racial incidents that have taken place in this country. We want the anti-black hate crime law because black people are the people who mostly are targeted by hate crimes, and we want to see all of these rogue police officers, these race soldiers, and these suburban commandos punished to the fullest extent of the law. And we want real police reform that deals with rogue police officers who abuse and torture black people. And we also want payment in reparations for the slavery that our ancestors went through, the discrimination of Jim Crow that made it where we could not live our American dream and be able to have a middle-class lifestyle in our own black economy. We want to also be paid for the current and ongoing discrimination that keeps many black people like myself from being able to find employment and be able to participate in the economy. These are just the tip of the iceberg of the tangibles that we want in exchange for our vote. And these are the things that Al Sharpton isn't going to talk about, because he'd rather talk about menthol cigarettes, which most black people don't care about, or talk about marijuana and expunging records from. We don't care about marijuana. No, everybody is getting money, and Joe Biden has basically given black people empty symbolic gestures. We could care less about a Juneteenth holiday. We could care less about Ketanji Clown Jackson, who basically is a bootleg for the left and is married to a white man. It is not about black interests. We want something serious and substantive for our vote. And this meeting with Al Sharpton again shows how disingenuous the whole Joe Biden administration is. I mean, even with their poll numbers at an all-time low, they basically just are completely showing their contempt for the black voter. and showing their contempt for the black voter, because even with their numbers at an all-time low, they don't even care about providing the black voter with anything tangible, and that's why the black voter should have no reason to go out and consider anything from Joe Biden, because if there's nothing tangible about putting money in our pockets and giving us policy that protects us, then we have no reason to take our booty to the poll to vote for a candidate who has openly lied to us every time. Now, if you want to pick up some of my positive black fiction on the SJS Direct imprint, you can find the books of the SJS Direct imprint on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find the books of the SJS Direct imprint at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, the iBookstore, and you can find them at big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you'd like to see me make more videos talking about various topics, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS, Amari's Revenge. The goddess next door is confronted by a Nubian queen out for revenge at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in this inaugural ISIS series adventure. Get your copy of ISIS, Amari's Revenge, paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Coming to paperback and e-readers, Esteem Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this all-new Esteem series adventure. Pre-order your copy of Esteem Horror in the Hamptons in digital format at Amazon.com, Google Play, Draft the Digital, and other digital booksellers, or pick up your paperback copy on May 24th. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.